It's the first day of 2025 and the rest of your life, such that it is. We're doing business and security today.
And yes, your life might not have the quality that it had in the previous years going forward. One of the things that you're going to lose probably going forward is any kind of social safety net. Instead of all of those things, we now have gig work. So if you fail at life and you lose your job and everything, you go to gig work, right? And surely there aren't a plethora of ways that you're being taken advantage of in that ecosystem.
Walmart sued over illegally opening bank accounts for delivery drivers. The bank accounts they opened were not great, and there was lots of fees and lots of ways that Walmart would nickel and dime you, or someone would nickel and dime you little fees and things for having a bank account, because that's how Walmart wanted to pay you, is directly depositing things into your bank account. And if you weren't cooperative with them, they would just open a bank account and be like, there you go.
Well, you say directly depositing, but direct deposit actually wasn't an option. You needed the branch messenger app, and they paid you through that, which, as you said, had a lot of fees. And if you think about it, I think the fees were like per trip.
Yeah.
So you have a small amount of money that's being, I think it was like $2 minimum.
Yeah.
So if you think about a gig worker doing a delivery, they're going to get like between sometimes single digits amounts. And you're going to take $2 off of that. If you complained, according to the people who are complaining, Walmart was like, no, we will fire you if you do not open this account.
I remember, I'm old enough to remember the e-checks, electronic checks. Remember those? Those were amazing because unlike credit cards, they didn't charge a % fee. And if you had a major carrier like Walmart, you could do e-check payments completely for free. There is nothing about any of this electronic or modern stuff that has made it to where those need a transactional fee or a percentage fee. It literally costs less to do these transactions than it did in the 1980s and 90s, and yet it costs more. This seems like something that is so illegal that it would drive someone to do some really desperate things.
That's a lead into the next story. But that's not exactly what this story is about. This is more about how it cannot be allowed that more people get it in their head to do those kinds of things.
404 Media's headline is copyright abuse is getting the Luigi Mangione merch removed from the internet. Do you know why? It's because those three things, the three words that I dare not utter here, really did appear in healthcare memos. So guess who's DMCAing that?
Now this image right here is totally bespoke. Look, it's not even well done. It's hard to tell who that is. But guess what? Copyright strike, DMCA. You cannot sell this on the internet.
That's so strange.
And
it's almost like those things would definitely not be abused.
Now, some people did have, there's a copy. T-Public got hit with a lot of these because I think it's easy to do that. Now, this one did kind of match some of those logos. So it's like, well, maybe, but then we have parody, right?
Yeah, there is no way that this is not allowed. Like, free speech was literally created to, not that, like, no one should condone murder or anything like that, but there is a speech component to this. If a political action committee has a free speech component, this has a free speech component, period.
And even people, they made things that were completely unrelated, parody stuff, and it all gets caught up in the net because there doesn't cost anything to the DMCA and there's no penalty for false accusations.
Guess what also gets caught up in the net in two ways that you don't understand. If you try to send this person money, one, the money's never going to get to them. Two, the fact that you sent money is preeminently traceable now in our society because you literally can't send money anonymously. And if you sent money, you're on a list.
And another thing that will be affected, most likely, this video.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft, of course, had a bad week. Google had a bad week. But it seems that Qualcomm had an incredible Christmas.
Qualcomm secures a key win in chips trial against ARM. I really didn't see this going any other way. Like, Qualcomm, ARM wants Qualcomm to negotiate with it directly, but Qualcomm acquired the licenses to do what it's doing through an acquisition. And when the company acquired the licenses from ARM to do its thing, it seemed like there was a provision for acquisition there. And it seems like, at least in the court case so far, Qualcomm has followed the requirements that it had from the company from its acquisition. So it acquired the rights and the responsibilities, and it's been following them. And ARM would like Qualcomm to stop doing Qualcomm things, but Qualcomm is not going to stop. However, this may be moot because the ARM renewal for the Qualcomm acquisition company is up in 2027, 2029. It's not very far off. So at that point, Qualcomm and ARM are going to have to negotiate, or Qualcomm's going to have to be on some other microprocessor technology.
It's not a lot of time in linear time, but in terms of things that might happen between now and then, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And one thing that's going to happen between now and then is a new merger.
Xerox and Lexmark. Xerox is going to acquire Lexmark. Dun, 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 dun.
If history teaches anything, the consumer will suffer.
Printing has gotten so terrible, people just don't want to print things anymore. It's like, I mean, I'd love, like, maybe I'm a crazy person, but I love printing memes. Like, just.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Just. I've got those 8x10 frames, and every 3 or 4 months you just print one and put it in the 8x10 frame.
Oh, a digital frame?
No, it's not even a digital frame.
No, but I'm saying like that's such a better solution.
Yeah. But
what memes do you print at home?
It's just like, this is funny. I'm gonna print it. Sounds good.
And here's something that is definitely going to be bad for the consumer and really, really good for the surveillance state.
Apple is reportedly working on a smart doorbell system that could unlock your door with Face ID. The new Ring competitor is in the works, according to Mark Gurman. Yeah, this is going to be wildly successful. The market for Internet of Things devices is so dysfunctional because all of these companies are more interested in building something of very limited utility that they want to charge you rent for from now until the end of time than actually building like a good Internet of Things experience. It's wild how bad and dysfunctional literally every smart device is. Like, Apple could just waltz in here and not even put 15 minutes of effort into it and corner the entire market.
You interestingly used the phrase limited utility there. And I believe that is also something that we will see in the future. Limited utilities.
U.S. data center power usage could nearly triple by 2028, the Department of Energy-backed report says. But don't worry, those weird little micro fusion reactors that have never worked right for the past 50 years, apparently we've had some breakthroughs on those that we haven't really directly heard of. Those are being added to the grid, as we covered last week.
Now, if you're wondering, how is it that we're all so distracted that all these horrible things are happening and no one notices? Or maybe they do notice and they just feel powerless and they don't care and they distract themselves. But one way or another, people are distracted.
Yikes, the average American spent 2.5 months on their phone in 2024.
This was self-reporting too, which means I think it's probably a higher number.
Probably a higher number, yeah.
A lot of it was on the toilet. First 10 minutes of waking up, 65% on the toilet. I believe that a lot of people are lying about that. I think that number's bigger.
Yeah.
Such a boring time. Texted someone in the same room, 53%. Look at your phone while you're on a date. That's horrible. And 27% look at their phone while driving. That is a terrifying number.
Yeah.
And we have, we had SOPA and PIPA, and that was supposed to be the next step in copyright, the full lockdown, and the people rejected it. So they've been trying again over and over and over since then. Here's our latest attempt.
TechDart has the headline, the copyright industry wants to apply automated blocking to the internet's core routers. Basically, when the copyright industry says this IP address is on the naughty list, that IP address no longer works.
And they really don't like Cloudflare because Cloudflare is, creating all these tools to keep websites online and so they can't be attacked by, I'm not saying that the industry would be attacking them, but somebody is. And they don't like that. They want a lot more control. Actually, they want to bypass Cloudflare and they want to go directly to the source and block. And again, this is no warrant, no judge, and no proof. Just we do it when we feel like it.
I love how also that in their mind, if you ask them things like, hey, can I do a virtual hangout with my friends and we all watch the same movie together? and like some of them are in a different state. That doesn't seem unreasonable to me, but they're just like, no, that is not. You can't. 4 people in the same room watching the same DVD, that is not allowed.
Well, it's been a year where we realized that some things were more valuable than we thought. And we're like, wait a minute. We don't have actually any direct access to that. We're depending on all of these other people for that. And semiconductor manufacturing is definitely one of those things. Everybody is looking to onshore.
TSMC's first new overseas fab in years begins make chips. JASM is coming online in Japan. Japan beat us to Arizona, and TSMC's, yes, the Japanese work ethic is aligned with what we need. So this is excellent.
Now it says J, but it's something like 85% owned by T.
Yeah.
They are definitely still in control of this. They're just putting it somewhere else.
Yeah, I think we're fine with that too in America. It's like, listen, we don't. If there's no one in America that actually knows how to run these things, and you're running this stuff remotely, we're fine with that.
So chips, super valuable. Electricity, way more valuable than we ever thought. But one thing that we assigned high value to is plummeting in value, and everybody's trying to get rid of them.
The Ars Technica headline is Hertz continues EV purge, asks renters if they'd like to buy them instead of returning the cars, which actually seems pretty good.
I mean, you've had it for a couple of days. You know if you like it or not. But the cost cutting here is insane. A 23 Model 3 could go as low as $17,000.
That doesn't seem like a terrible deal. Like, I wonder what the catch is.
Probably a lot of miles, I guess. Right? The battery's going to be toasted.
Yeah, I don't. I think also I would love to, like, if Hertz, does anybody work for Hertz in the audience? I would love to know if you have a centralized service database, like the trouble tickets for all the cars and the maintenance done to them, like the whole database, the entire thing. I would love to get a copy of that, either under NDA or not, because I think there's a lot of really interesting information there. I do think a fleet of electric vehicles with a low number of parts and is like an ideal rental vehicle, for it's literally just a box on wheels with a motor and a battery. Like, that is the perfect rental car. But clearly whatever Tesla delivered was not at all that. And I would be insanely curious to know what the maintenance breakdown of all the vehicles in the fleet look like.
Probably huge limitations as well, because most often you're renting a car to travel. Right?
Yeah.
And you get the range anxiety.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a couple years old.
But if the service logs show that every one of them is like, door won't unlock, it's like, or weirdly won't take a charge, or is slow to charge, or whatever the maintenance logs are for all of these, it's interesting. I'm sure the maintenance being a higher cost, that makes sense. There's fewer people that can work on them right now. Now might not be the time, but in the future, a fleet of electric rental vehicles with good battery life, that makes sense.
Well, Google claims to have solved the quantum computing problems. Now, they've got their chip, they're ready, the world is ready. Some people have questioned that. It might not be as great as they say it is, but even if it is, there's another problem. How do you plug that in to the existing network? Because it's not going to work quite the same way, but these people say, hang on.
Impossible success. Quantum teleportation on normal internet cables is set to change the world. So it turns out that you can actually send entangled particles on a fiber optic line along with the normal photons that are there for everything else. You can just mux it in as another communication channel. This is great until we realize that a huge number of fiber optic cables have been co-opted by intelligence services like the NSA. And then it's like, well, the quantum entanglement is weirdly not working in real life.
It's like the end-to-end-to-end encryption. There always has to be one entangled particle at the NSA.
Yeah.
We'll be monitoring that one. So yeah, they it wasn't just like plug and play. They had to install hardware on both ends, but they were able to transfer normal traffic and still do the quantum stuff on top of it. Got a long way to go, I think. And here's an interesting one when it comes to patent trolling.
Yeah.
Somehow Netflix invented virtualization.
Netflix sues Broadcom's VMware over U.S. virtual machine patents. And this is interesting. This could actually undermine some of... I really think that ultimately Broadcom is going to go the full Oracle litigation, like more lawyers than engineers route. And Netflix may have seen the same writing on the wall and may be heading that off at the pass.
In the past, Broadcom has gone after Netflix for streaming video technology that they claim they own. So it's a little bit of, catfighting here, I think, in the court system. Wasting the court's time, probably.
Well, if nothing else, I think Netflix is going to be successful in invalidating VMware's patents. So that'll be nice. I'm sure Microsoft is watching this saying, ooh, we can roll this into Hyper-V.
Well, it's interesting you say Microsoft because this story is kind of about Microsoft, but not really. Now, in the past, we've seen Microsoft make maybe the worst ever decisions in terms of changing their operating system in ways that the users hate.
It's so bad.
And in ways that are absolutely tone deaf. Like, no one wants this. And Asus said, we can go one more on that.
Asus bombards Windows 11 with christmas.exe like malware, Christmas wreath banner. So this is the Armory Crate thing, which you can disable in BIOS. There's a BIOS option to disable Armory Crate, and you should. We always recommend that. Yeah, so it turns out there was a Christmas update, and you know what people really like is a wreath. Yeah, so just turn that off.
Yeah, so that came without warning, and no one knew why there was suddenly a Christmas wreath. And then christmas.exe is a known malware file name from a couple of years ago. And so there was some alarm.
As there should be. Why would anybody do this?
That's a question for Asus. And here is something that is becoming a weekly occurrence, sadly, because it just gets worse and worse. And even worse than that, we all know that all of our records are out there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Massive Volkswagen data leak exposes 800,000 electronic vehicle owners' movements from homes to brothels.
Now, they weren't all going to brothels, but some of them were. And someone figured out how to tie this to, this was an open API. It wasn't a like breach or leak or whatever. It's like traditional. But they also figured out that there was another API where you could take that data and tie it to the actual person.
Yeah.
So they would pretty easily put together your entire trip history and figure out everything about you.
Why was my car configured to do that in the first place? Like, who would even think, what normal person would think that, oh, this is the thing that I have to be concerned about?
Data brokers are the reason.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but again, this is another one of those things where a normal person looks at it as, how do we have laws to protect against this just random crap, but not this?
Well, not only do we not have laws to protect against it, but we have actually instituted it into our official infrastructure against all knowledgeable people saying, you cannot do this. This is insane. This is going to happen. It's a matter of time. And not only has it happened, it's still happening.
A ninth telecom firm has been hit by a massive Chinese espionage campaign, the White House says. That's the headline. The lead that's buried here is the warrantless surveillance system thing that we built into, not necessarily warrantless, but the system doesn't know if you have a warrant or not.
I don't think the Chinese have any warrants.
SS7. The thing that we built in order to be able to do lawful surveillance has been co-opted for years, apparently. And the more we look into it, the more we find people that shouldn't be there, because we didn't build any logging or like validation or oversight. Literally nothing exists in this infrastructure. So imagine building a fortress and then having a back door that's just made out of aluminum foil and yellow pine. How are they getting in the fortress? I don't understand. It's like, well, the blueprint says that we have to build that yellow pine screen door in the back.
And again, that's saying the ninth instance, which you might assume would be like, oh, we already took care of the previous 8.
No.
It's still happening at all of them.
We won't close the back door. We need it too much for law enforcement, but we don't actually.
We're tired of having to go and like let the cat in and out constantly because they're so indecisive.
They've already clawed their way through the thin aluminum foil.
And someone has clawed their way through the thin aluminum foil that is the supply chain. Once again,
hackers hijack a wide variety of companies' Chrome extensions, experts say. Some of this, it turns out they would just buy access. It's like, this Chrome extension is kind of popular. Can we just give you $20,000 for it? And the extension owner's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's a reasonable price to pay for being able to deploy malware to ever how many users use that extension. And Google, of course, is asleep at the helm, because see also the Google Play Store, which is just a den of awfulness.
And another something that was built incorrectly to be advantageous to power has shockingly, been co-opted by other people, bad actors. I mean, they're all bad actors, right? But bad actors that it wasn't intended to be used by.
The Verge's headline is, a fake Nintendo lawyer is scaring YouTubers and it's not clear that YouTube can stop him. Fear of a Japanese company put this German YouTuber through mental hell. This might still be Nintendo. Like, I don't know. I have no evidence of this.
Well, they deny it.
But there is a YouTuber in South America that YouTube just straight up hired a private investigator to go harass. And I'm not sure that YouTube or that Nintendo had in mind to inflict this specific kind of harassment that was visited upon the South American person. But nevertheless, Nintendo was indirectly responsible. I have a feeling there's a component of that here.
No, that's a different story you're talking about. This one was Germany.
Yeah.
And
I'm saying I think what's happening in Germany is like what happened in South America.
But they figured out that someone did spoof the email headers.
Yeah.
So if it was Nintendo, they cleverly did it. And he got 2 strikes. And they said, we're going after you for these reasons. It was actually just a troll who was trying to get something out of him directly. But when he reached out to YouTube, as is always the case, YouTube did nothing. They don't care. And then when the journalist reached out to YouTube, YouTube doesn't care. No one cares. I don't think he got his strikes taken off yet either. So he's 1 strike away, even though he did nothing wrong, and it was a troll who was just attacking him the entire time. And the DMCA system is wide open to exploitation.
It was literally designed with tissue paper and aluminum foil for exactly this kind of abuse.
As was, it seems, bank cybersecurity.
Japan's MUFG Bank suffers online banking glitch and hints at a cyber attack. Banking glitch.
Yeah, the banking glitch is, we don't have your money. We lost it. Here's a little bit of good news, though. These are always few and far between, but we love to hear it. And this is having to do with the NSO Group, who they take some advantage. They cheat a little bit. They do things that are illegal. And they say, no, we don't do that. And it's hard to prove, but it seems like the proof has finally been established.
WhatsApp scores a historic victory against NSO Group in a long-running spyware hacking case. So this is the one that Meta brought a long time ago. This is like 18 months old at this point. We first reported on this.
Very old.
And they actually have won a victory, but I don't know.
They get to have the case now.
Yeah.
NSO was trying to get it dismissed. The argument was, we never agreed to any terms of service. We never did anything. But the judge, credit to this judge for having a baseline understanding of this, said, how did you co-opt the software and hack it if you never had a copy that you agreed to the terms of service for? They didn't have a good excuse for that. We're just really good at guessing. And we actually talked about this last week. Did we talk about this last week?
A little bit. We mentioned it, but there are now write-ups to go with the articles and everything else. Honey Controversy explained why a YouTuber claims that its coupon finder is exploiting influencers. Yeah, it replaces the affiliate links. When I do a video on, like, this is why Linux works really good with this motherboard, and there's an affiliate link that you use to buy the motherboard, I'll make like $3. And if enough of you do that, it makes it worth it for me to do that for that motherboard video, which is amazing, and thank you. That's awesome. Honey, if you have it installed, just quietly replaces the affiliate link with theirs, and they get the money. They get the $3.
And this guy tested that, proved it, offered his proof, and made a lot of people really unhappy. What was this guy's name? Megalag.
That's because these companies like PayPal don't believe that you as an individual are entitled to money.
That's our money.
Yeah.
You're just holding it.
Yeah, that's exactly, like, there was just no consideration. It's like, oh, if we can get you to do this, then we get the money.
And another big theme of 2024 was Windows 11 being terrible. And one of the big problems it kept having was updates. Well, here we are at the end of the year, and guess what?
Windows 11 installation media bug causes security update failures. So when you install Windows 11, you can have a broken copy from the start that just never gets updates, which actually could explain some game performance anomalies that Hardware Unboxed and others reported earlier in the year.
This is if you use CD or USB installation media for a certain update. Somehow that sets it to never check online for updates. And if you got something new for the holidays, a lot of you maybe got a new phone, new tablet, something like that, You do have to worry about minimum safety when you're getting rid of the old one. But apparently, that is some forbidden knowledge most people don't have.
The register's headline is 1/3 of adults can't delete device data. So you get your phone, you get a new phone. How do you securely erase your device? Most people don't know.
I thought they had some bullet points here, but they do not.
That's one thing that's going to change in the next 2 or 3 years, probably. There'll be a large language model on your phone, and you can just talk to your phone. That'll be great for like grandma and stuff. It's like, hey, phone, I've got a new phone. I'm retiring you. I need to erase everything securely. And it'll just do it. You just tell it what you want, and it'll do it. Of course, that'll expose, a lot of these companies will go crazy with dark patterns, too. It's like, are you sure that you want to uninstall the Honey application? I occasionally find a good deal for you. And, I don't think you should listen to those stories about stealing commissions from other people. And then, there's the dark pattern of the LLM that's trying to talk you into doing things you don't want to do, but that you don't actually want, or things that are not actually in your best interest. How about that?
And you will have a central bank digital currency ensuring that you conform to all of those things. Otherwise, it will just disappear from your account. And you will have this to ensure that they control your movements.
Paper passport is dying. Smartphones and face recognition are being combined to create new digital travel documents. The paper passports days are numbered despite new privacy risks. Yeah, new privacy risks. People will literally steal your phone because of how valuable it is. This is crazy.
They don't need to steal your phone. Eventually, this database is going to get leaked like the car database.
Yeah.
And they're going to have your facial information. And they're going to have advanced printing techniques to print your face into a mask.
There have been, like this past Halloween, people printing stuff out of PETG, the flexible filament, and like making their cosplay stuff out. There's some incredible stuff that has been printed with that. It is mind blowing. Like you wouldn't think that additive 3D printing technology's really moved all that much in the last 10 years. It's amazing.
It's going to happen. You're going to put your face in a database. It's going to get leaked. Get ready for it. I don't know how you get ready for that.
Be sure to look out for the live stream stuff that may be happening any day now, today or tomorrow, or whenever Chris is feeling better. Maybe next week. I don't know. We'll see. Something. All right. That's enough. What do we got lined up for nonsense?
I mean, a variety of things.
I noticed there was some food nonsense this time.
I always try to put food in if I can.
No, I don't. Somehow the food nonsense never registers as actual food because it's usually so disgusting or just terrible. I can't think of it as food. But I can't remember, one of the articles this week was like, oh yeah, this really was food nonsense.
Find out what that was
On Friday. Bye.